Hello, this is Pastor Sidney of the All Faith Liberation Church in Chicago. I have a simple uh, inspiration today to talk about, again, the end times and its relevance for today. I take my text from Revelation 20, verse 1 through 3. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. What is this reference? Well, from the perspective of John the Revelator, who was writing this at the age of 90-something in the end of his life, exiled on Patmos, which is an island where the Romans had put him. He's the only disciple that wasn't met with a brutal end, an execution mostly, is what happened to most of them, including the women apostles and disciples like Mary Magdalene and Martha and Mary of Bethany, and they all ended up terrible fates, although heroic fates. But John was allowed to live at the end so that he could put together the apocalyptic time that was going on in his time period, just at the end of where the Romans had put a temple of Saturn. They were trying to put a temple of Saturn on the temple of the Lord. The people rose up. They were defeated and scattered to the world. And until 1948, that part of the world was not in any way controlled by anyone connected to the people of Judaism. They had to come back. This whole world we're looking through right now has a lot to do with those decisions made at the end of World War II. But to backtrack, who is Satan and who is the dragon? It seems really obvious that if you look at the idea of a seven-headed dragon, there were 7 hills of Rome, very famously, and there were 10 crowns. So there was too many crowns for the heads of Rome, is what that means, and that is why it was an angry creature. There are too many leaders trying to find their power, and that monster, that beast, that reality was this satanic serpent or dragon. Well, the dragon was locked up, and this is from John's perspective, it's going to happen. So, in the first hundreds years of Christianity, it's going to happen. Well, what ended up happening? The fall of Rome was, by many standards, I believe 476 AD, with the fall of Rome to Attila the Conqueror, himself conqueror of Alaric, who had come earlier in the 400s. The final destruction of Rome was about 476. And the people in that area, a third of the world, a third of the stars of heaven fell. So if you look at from, say, Spain to China in a map, that was the ancient world, the Silk Road connecting India, China, and then there were desert routes going down to Ghana at the time, which predated Mali and Songhai and those African kingdoms. This is all trade that was going on in the world that fell apart rather directly. China and India were going through, and Parthia were going through their economic crisis too. Once one part falls, they all fall. But a third of the world, which is what the dragon was supposed to represent, was Rome, and that fell. And how long did it last? Well, God had a little joke on us, because it wasn't quite 1,000 years between 476 AD and 1492, when the folk of that part of the world realized, wait, the world is not flat, actually. Everyone else in the world, very well aware that the world was round and had astronomy and all these things. One of the reasons a lot of astronomical terms and algebraic terms, even the word algebra, are Arabic terms. And it was the Arab people and also the Jewish people of that region that eventually were able to have trade in the old books of Greek and Roman thought, which brought people back during the Renaissance. But from 476 AD to 1492 is exactly 1,000 10 and 6 years. This is God's promise to John, which was fulfilled. The empire that had been Rome fell in the Dark Ages and was lost for off the rest of the map of the world for a period of time of about 1,000 years, plus 10, plus 6, 16 years. We're facing that again, friends. It was the reason I brought this up. The decisions of a lot of the leaders of this country now is to start up a war mindset. They're trying to bring war back. I think the powerful are tired of peace. There's not enough profit in peace. They have to have a war machine thing. So Trump is serving that idea of trying to make everybody else mad at America so that America eventually will be surrounded as if in a pit and left to rot. This could be easily our fate if we don't really wake up and realize how much in common we have with everybody else in the world, how much we and they deserve a better future than that is being promised by the oligarchs, who are surely the powers of darkness in high places, as is said in Ephesians 6:12. Lot to say, but think of that. There's cycles and cycles. The Bible talks, and then 1,000 years later, it'll still be relevant. That's the kind of thing. It was only in the last 40, 50 years after around 1492 that you had the printing press, you had this back in people's hands. For 1,000 years, they hadn't read the Bible, didn't know what they were talking about. When they started having slave trade and forcing, African people and American people to read the Bible as part of the deal to Christianize them or whatever they were trying to pretend to do to enslave them, well, they didn't realize themselves that this book would have so much to do with the Jewish people fighting against the pharaonic slavery of Egypt. They didn't know that it would have so much to do with the very people that are reading it, seeing their own self in Moses, their own self in the salvation in Exodus. This was God's plan. God was doing this using all of us, using the European power, using the African folk, using the American folk to tell his story, which we're right now about ready to conclude. Let us hope and pray that we don't end up in the pit again for 1,000 years. God bless you.